is the Justin Brady Show, and content is changing, AI is changing, and who better to discuss all of it? If you're a content producer, what should you do in the future? And how does AI impact your life? How does it impact your content? We found the perfect person that addresses all of this, like literally all of it. You couldn't ask for anything better. Martin Keene joins us of the IBM Technology YouTube channel, which, didn't it just it crossed 1 million subscribers? Is that right?
Why, thank you for mentioning that, Justin. Yes.
Jeez.
Yes. We got a million subs just this weekend, which was cause for much celebration. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on. Really looking forward to chatting about this.
Absolutely. We met in Chicago for another project and didn't know much about you. Sure do now. I don't know how many hours of your videos I've consumed at this point. I sought therapy. No, just kidding. But like I told you, you are a expert level communicator, like really, really good at taking very complicated ideas and distilling them down into something that's really simple to understand. So we're going to be talking a lot about that, content, AI, where's AI going? You know so much about this. You're kind of like the triple threat. Honestly, anyway, first though, a lot of organizations are finally looking into podcasting now. I would kind of call IBM Technology kind of a podcast model. It's video, but 1 million subscribers, that's a really, really long path. Thinking back, how did you actually get organizational support to do this epic content strategy that you've done quite well at?
Yeah, now I should say it's not just me. This is not like my personal channel. I'm one of the many presenters we have on the channel. But this channel has been very different from a corporate perspective from some of the others. So with the IBM Technology channel, there are other IBM channels as well. And they're a little bit more what you'd expect in that they are promoting IBM products and services. So you go to the channel, you learn about an IBM product or an IBM offering or something like that. With the IBM Technology channel, we took the approach that we would actively not mention our company's products at all. Like the policy is don't talk about the IBM offering. So
like Fight Club kind of.
Exactly. Exactly right. So that was a big departure from basically anything we've been doing in the company at all, because all of our articles, our blog posts, all that sort of stuff, podcasts even, we're focusing on selling a solution or making people aware of a solution or a technology. But we tried to take the approach on the IBM Technology channel of just talking about things generically, agnostically. And that's been the thing that I think has really found such a good audience, is that if we're talking about a new piece of tech, we'll just talk about it. Here's what it is. We're not going to mention any companies that have offerings for it necessarily. Now, to be clear, once you've watched the video, there's going to be a call to action that you could click on in the link or in the description of the video that may link to more information that might relate to an IBM offering. But in general, it's just getting to talk about things at a high level. And as a content creator, as a person who's creating these videos, it is so refreshing to be able to do that you don't have to run your thought about a particular technology through somebody's marketing department first, because you can actually describe it as it is. And we can really feel like we're providing a service, a sort of an educational service to people to really tell them what a technology can and cannot do without worrying about, upsetting the marketing department.
And that's hard though, because so much of the marketing comms department these days in a bit larger organizations don't understand content strategy, which this is sad, by the way, because I was reminded a couple months ago when I was in Nashville that the Grand Ole Opry was actually like old school content strategy. Like they were trying to sell insurance, no one cared. So they just started saying, let's just play music on this and then put ads in there. So like great content strategy is nothing new, but it does seem like corporate and branding often forget that people don't, I don't want to offend anybody, but people don't care about your brand at all. They care about themselves. They care about entertaining, interesting content. And so what I hear you saying is on your channel, the reason it was successful is because you had an obsession and a 100% focus on user, not necessarily on brand. Obviously they need to align. Is that, I don't want to put words in your mouth though. Is this kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. We're creating as wide a funnel as we can to get people in. I mean, the other thing to say is this is on YouTube, and most people are not sat in their office job watching a lot of YouTube content. They're watching this, on their own time. Mm-hmm. So
True. True.
Right. We wouldn't expect somebody to necessarily watch a whole load of kind of marketing content on YouTube, right? Because why would you, right?
It's so true.
So we're sort of freed from that, and we're thinking, yeah, people are doing this by choice. They're watching this because they want to watch it. So therefore, it also needs to be kind of compelling and entertaining as well. We can add some terrible dad jokes in there, which, my specialty. So yeah, that's been a really fun part of it, is we can actually go about having a bit of fun while teaching people concepts at the same time.
So how did you get the support for it? Because leaders want that direct ROI. We're going to talk about ROI, obviously, but leaders want that direct correlation. And like, Martin, this is a cool idea and all, but we have to sell. We have to talk about our products and sell. That's what marketing does. That's what our company does. How did you get support to create an audience-centric content strategy?
Yeah, well, fortunately, I didn't have to get any support because I don't run the team. I'm just in the videos, but the team behind it, the way that they got the support is, first of all, they try to show, look, we have generated this big funnel, this big audience. But when you go back to the business and you tell them we've generated X number of million views, it sounds good, but then the question is always, so what? I mean, yeah, you've created all these views, but how is that helping our business? So that is where we've been able to track things like the call to actions at the end of the video, the links in the description, and we can actually track then how many people were actually driven to a particular product page because of that. So those are the tangibles. We try to sell it as a little bit more than just the tangibles, though. We're trying to show that we are part of the conversation. So when you're thinking about an AI topic like a large language model, if you've watched 5 or 6 IBM videos about large language models, even if they didn't talk about the IBM large language model, IBM is now part of that conversation. And we've put IBM in your mind as you're associating it with that topic. So that's really the sort of the intangible aspect of this. It's very difficult to measure, but that's the other part of it. It's not just clicks on links.
And that's my question, is how do you measure? But I mean, you're kind of giving me an indication there. It's very difficult to measure. And I want to talk about audience acquisition too. I know you're a pro at that. And there's a reason there's a reason I want to ask you about that. There's a reason I'm saying you're a pro at that. But the tracking of results, you did mention one thing, which is you're tracking conversions, which you absolutely should be as content marketers. We can't just go out there, throw things against the wall and hope for the best. We do need to track stuff. There needs to be ROI. So you're tracking the clicks and conversions, awesome. But how do you, and maybe you don't, but how do you measure that, I don't know why I pronounced that weird. How do you measure that it's a part of the conversation, that IBM technology, that your discussions on AI are a part of the conversation? How do you do that? It
is very difficult to measure that. But one way we have been able to measure that is, particularly in AI, where it's moving so fast and there's new topics coming up all the time, is when we put out a video on a new topic, we can see how many people are thinking to go to the IBM technology channel to learn about that topic. So we've just been addressing so many sort of areas of cybersecurity and AI and things that are hot like that, where you wouldn't necessarily think to go to IBM because perhaps there isn't even an IBM public offering yet. But if we see that we put out a video on that topic and it is driving traffic, that we can sort of imply from that we are driving some of that voice. We are measuring it that way. How do we say measuring? Measuring.
I say measuring, but I don't know why I botched the measure. I said measure.
I like it.
Measure. It's like I'm royalty of some kind. Is it like an SEO thing? Like you talk about this topic that no one was talking about before, and then you monitor organic search landing on your website for that traffic? I mean, do you have some fairly complex systems to track that?
It's that, and it's also the reverse of that, which is using SEO to try to pick some of the topics as well. So if we are wanting to address a future area, maybe we've got a product coming out and we want to try to drive some mindshare towards that as well, we can see what the topics are related to that in SEO, look at what kind of videos are out there, and then try to put something together as well. But this is making it sound like it's a very scientific process, and to an extent it is, but from a personal perspective, for me as a content creator, I have a lot of leeway as to which topics I address in a given week. So I will propose a list of topics, and they will go and the team will go and look at those, and they will do some SEO research on those. And
Interesting.
But they'll say yes or no to my topics, but I'm the one that got to choose them in the first place. And when you combine the ability that I get to choose what I talk about with also that I don't have to like sell a product while I'm talking about it, and thirdly, I get to write my own script completely myself, doesn't really get a thorough review by like a whole organization in the same way that a piece of product marketing would do. That's what's made it so fun to be able to create this sort of content.
I feel like expert content marketers have that sense of freedom when they're talking to their ideal audience. You shouldn't feel, if you're doing like content marketing, even truthfully sales, if you're doing it the right way, you should, in my view, have this sense of freedom where you're able to actually connect deeper and form that relationship. I mean, that's what you're doing. You're creating mass scale relationships, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're trying to create this relationship with the audience. And a good example of this is we just published a video fairly recently called 2025 AI Trends. And these were the trends that we think will come up over the next year. Now,
right.
Something like that for a big multinational corporation, you would think that's going to be selection by committee of picking the hottest trends and,
yes.
and then having me present those hottest trends and so forth. Nothing can be further from the truth, though.
That's good. That's great.
Nothing can be further from the truth. I sat down and thought, here's what I think the biggest AI trends will be in the coming year. I wrote the script. Some people looked at it, but there wasn't really any kind of thorough review or anything, and we didn't have to go through any kind of committee review. And I got to present it as mine. So this is not my company's 2025 trend predictions. These are mine, and you've seen me perhaps in some other videos, and based on that, here's what I think is coming. So it is trying to be sort of quite personal and not be sort of the talking head of the organization you're working for.
Yeah. I do think, though, like you and the other people on your channel, I think this is what you're saying, but like brands don't build brands. No one cares about IBM. No one cares about my brand. They really don't. They care about me. They care about you. They care about the people on that channel. People build relationships, which is why organizations should do exactly what IBM is doing and elevate the cool people they have working for them. I mean, you're a master inventor at IBM, so you're not like some sexy person they hired to get on there and charm everybody. You have some real like in the trenches experience. You also happen to be a great communicator, and this is what all brands should be doing, is finding the superheroes in your organization that have good skills to build those mass relationships and promoting them. But so many people have those individuals like you in their organization. They're completely ignoring them. Earlier, you mentioned a lot of things, actually. You mentioned how you guys find ideas. I want to talk about that. You talked about your 2025 predictions. I want to talk about that. Really quickly, though, a tactical thing, because this isn't a one-off thing for you. You are one of the people behind building 1 million subscribers on YouTube, but you also have your own brewlosophy. You have your own YouTube channel on brewing beer. The one I just watched today was you trying to get yourself less drunk by swallowing yeast and yogurt. So I think it's close to 30,000 subscribers, right?
Yes.
So how do you have some hack? Because a lot of marketers out there, a lot of content creators, podcasters are like, 30,000 subscribers would be incredible. What do you know that we all don't?
Well, thank you for bringing up brewlosophy, because that is my personal
super funny
channel. and I love the fact that you watched the yeast video where, we had basically a panel of people. We were drinking alcohol and then measuring blood alcohol percentages with a breathalyzer. And then apparently there is a trick to mix dry yeast with yogurt. And the founder of Samuel Adams said he does this to avoid getting drunk. So we wanted to try it. And we gave that a go, and it actually kind of worked. So brewlosophy, that was
as long as you get the breathalyzer, the correct working breathalyzer. That's
right. And all the participants were neighbors, so nobody had to drive anywhere. Perfectly good.
Great. Disclosure.
Yep. Now, brewlosophy. That's actually it's kind of a brand for home brewers, and it pre-existed ahead of the YouTube channel. So We started the YouTube channel about 2 years ago, but prior to that, there's also a podcast, there's a website as well. So I'm kind of the video arm of that, which has been really fun to do that. Prior to that, actually, I had a different channel for brewing beer called the Homebrew Challenge that had about 40,000 subscribers as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that one, the stick for that one was there are 99 official beer styles according to the BJCP guidelines, and I decided that I would brew every one of them. So I did one beer every week, which seemed like a good idea at the time. But yes, it's A, a lot of work, but it's also B, a lot of beer, and finding a home for it all was a bit of an issue.
You made a lot of friends in your neighborhood real fast.
Yeah, but the video like that is really just getting down to the show don't tell mentality of this, and the thing about doing something practical like brewing a beer is there's plenty of showing that you can do as well as just telling people how to best do these things. So the stick for the Homebrew Challenge was a series of videos. If you'd watched me brew 45 beers, maybe you're kind of interested to see what I would do on the 46th and how they would compare to each other. With Brewlosophy, it's more scientific. We are testing a scientific hypothesis with most of these videos, and that's been kind of the thing that has attracted people. So, for example, we will brew 2 beers that are identical in every way except for one thing. Maybe we use a slightly different ingredient, or we use a slightly different process in the brewing of the beer. And then we will serve these beers to tasters in a triangle test. So you receive 3 cups. 2 have got the same beer and one's got the other beer in it. And your job is to taste all the 3 and then say which one's the odd one out. And if you can pick it out, that says that the one variable that we incorporated in the brew day made a difference to the beer. But if you can't, then if enough people can't, and we do this enough times, it actually means that variable actually wasn't significant, didn't make a difference in the tasting of the beer. And it is amazing how many brewing kind of things that you absolutely must do in your brew day, if we didn't do them, so we brewed one beer that did them and one beer that didn't, the number of times that super important thing actually didn't make a difference in the finished beer is just incredible. So that's been the fun part of that.
That's fast. So you mentioned 40,000 on another channel, 30,000 on this one, of course, 1 million plus on IBM Technology. I want to go back though to these are totally different networks, like technology and then beer brewing, totally different networks. So some people that have a brand or they're an author or a celebrity of some kind can tap into that existing network and sell them their content, for lack of a better term. You did something different because these are 2 different networks. So again, do you have some hack or secret into building audience quickly?
The funniest thing is when those 2 audiences cross over. So we love it when we get videos on the IBM channel that say things like, "What is my beer brewer talking about AI for?" We love these 2 worlds because people just do not expect it. So yeah, I would say that these things are almost completely in isolation in terms of audience. I mean, yes, there are people who care about AI and also that care about beer, but that's a pretty small percentage of the overlap. I mean, you're generally going at 2 completely different audiences. But the thing that's consistent is just the sort of the personality side of it, being able to sort of come across on camera well and relate to people on camera and share information in a way that kind of makes a little bit of sense on camera. And I started the personal stuff first, the brewing channels first, and then 2 years ago started doing my videos for IBM, and it was amazing how much the skills transferred from being able to present about, here's how to brew a hazy IPA and what you should consider about fermentation temperature, through to talking about, convolutional neural networks on the IBM channel in a blacked out room where I'm writing with pens on the board. Those 2 skills, it's basically the same skill, and it's just applying it to a different medium.
Yeah, interesting. So you already, sorry for the ears and the listeners there, just tap my microphone with my pen. You already had established yourself in content before you came to IBM, and then you threw fuel on that fire, obviously. And this is a really hard question. Do you remember if there was a point, and you may not, but do you remember if there was a point where you were starting off in the channel and it exploded? And do you remember what was the catalyst for that? Because usually, and it's not always known, but usually there's some growth catalyst to a podcast or a channel of some kind.
Yeah, I had one video really blow up in the brewing thing. So I was just getting a few hundred people coming to each video, and then I got one which I think got something like 500,000 views in a few months. So it just absolutely shot up out of nowhere, and it was a comparison video. I was comparing doing something the cheap way versus doing something with all the proper gear.
Oh.
And that is absolute catnip for YouTube when you do that sort of thing. And is
really
the basis of brewlosophy as well, which is to compare two different beers and there's a slight difference and does it make a big difference? Or what if I brew something with the cheapest possible ingredients versus using the fanciest ingredients, that sort of thing. And that ended up translating very much to the IBM channel as well, because we found that the two categories of videos that did the best on that channel were either what is videos, so a basic 101, what is a particular topic, a technical topic. And then the second category was the versus category, just like with my brewing, where we would compare two similar technologies and try to explain why you might pick one over the other and what's the difference between the two. So again, it's such overlap between sort of what we figured worked on the beer side and what ended up working on a sort of much more educational technical side.
So you may have tapped into like a super, super hot search term that people were YouTubing a lot of, but just wasn't on really anyone's radar. And you happened to do that content that was in kind of a content island. Like everyone was searching for it. No one was finding it. You drop that video and it goes crazy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And initially, a lot of the views started to come through search. And that's when we knew we were onto something, because it were these search terms that were making the difference and driving people to the channel. And from there, once you've got them there, you now have the opportunity to keep them if you can direct them to other videos that they're going to be interested in as well. And perhaps you end up with a subscriber that way.
Did that change then how you created ideas for new shows? Like that observation, did that completely change how you ideate for new show ideas?
It did, because the versus thing was a real eye opener, because okay, we're going to do a lot more versus content now. This versus that, what's the difference? I don't think that's a particularly revolutionary thought. I think a lot of YouTubers are onto that trick, but it is something that does get a lot of interest. But the other thing that I was a bit more surprised by, which kind of makes sense now, was that to go high level, to go to the 101 level, rather than getting too in the weeds, would open up a much bigger audience than if you get very much into the technical details. So on the IBM technology channel, we actually have a series of videos, the 101 video, which is the highest level basic one. Those are the ones I do. And then we have the 102 and the 103, which kind of get more and more into depth as to how to do something. Maybe it will show you step by step how to do something with a piece of software. Those are very useful, but they don't have the just appeal in terms of viewers as the 101 stuff, because maybe you're interested in learning what a particular large language model context window means or something like that. And you're willing to watch a 5-minute video that describes that. That's my video. But then if you wanted to see how to tweak that context window on your large language model and get into the details of how to do that in the software, there's a smaller number of people that go on to do that, right? So targeting sort of the highest level what is kind of content has been a big thing that we've been trying to do.
You speak of content in terms of almost funnels. Like you have your broad content, and then once people get interested there, you have some buckets or some narrower channels that you kind of serve them into to get them more interested. Is this by design, or is this just something that kind of happens? But do you have some hierarchy content? Like here's top funnel, here's more narrow, here's how we get people hooked in?
Yeah, that's a really good observation, because yes, that's exactly what we do. That's what we do with the IBM channel, and that's what I've started to do with my personal channel as well, is to start really broad and then go in. The other thing you can do is kind of a hub and spoke kind of thing. So I do have a couple of other YouTube channels as well that we didn't talk about, but I have a kind of a techie channel where we just like look at technology, and another one about coffee. And on the technology channel, I did some camera reviews for a particular camera brand, the Panasonic brand. And I wanted to talk about the different lenses that are available. So I did one video that had, here are 8 Panasonic lenses, and the YouTube thumbnail are all of the lenses kind of lined up. And then for each one of those lenses, talk about them for a minute, maybe show what they can do, on to the next one. But for each one of those lenses as well, there is a dedicated video behind it, which is the full review. So there's a full 10-minute review of that lens as well. So the idea being you watch the main video first and think, actually, I'm interested in lens 3, 4, and 6. And then we have sort of funneled you down into those videos as well, when you can actually watch the full thing to get the full specs on the full review of it.
That is really like very strategic, like really strategic. How do you create you indicated this a little bit earlier. You mentioned you had a few ideas, the team looked at them. How do you go about creating ideas for IBM technology? Because I would imagine a lot of my listeners are more operating within an organization and corporate structure to create new ideas. And in your own stuff, you can just create an idea, do your own research, and do it. So how do you go about finding new ideas for shows on a consistent basis?
Yeah, so I need to come up with a new video topic every week and come up with a script for it. And this whole thing is just a side thing. This is not my main job. My main job is to create long form education.
Right.
For education classes on specific IBM products. So this is not something I can spend a huge amount of time with.
I think a lot of people are in that boat.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. Now, I get a lot of my content ideas from looking at blogs and articles that have been published on certain topics. So if I'm trying to narrow down on a particular area of AI, I'll look to see what existing blog posts have been written on some of these various topics. I might pick one, and that blog post might even form the basis of my starting to script out the concept of the topic as well. But so for example, like right now this week, I am going to do a video on semi-supervised learning for machine learning, and there is a existing IBM blog post on that. A couple of other companies have put together blog posts on that as well. That will absolutely form the basis of my video, which is not to say I can now just copy and paste some blog posts and read it out on camera and call that done, because it's completely different.
Yeah. Yes.
Like if I'm just going to sit there and read aloud a blog post, nobody is going to watch that for more than 5 seconds. So it forms the basis of the sort of the topics we want to talk about. And then I get to really think about, how can I explain this visually? How can I explain this maybe in a way that is going to be engaging and keep people listening to this, assuming that they came into this video not really knowing anything about the topic other than, that's kind of interesting, I wonder what that is.
Yeah, that's a topic we could probably go into in another time, which is don't read your shows. Like, I've seen some people attempt it. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do it well, because the way we write to communicate with other people is completely different than the way we speak. Totally different. And so if you're trying to write your shows and write the inflections in it, ain't gonna work.
Well, I do use a teleprompter for all of these videos though.
What?
Yeah.
So then you're just like fooling everybody really well. It's extremely good. Okay, I stand corrected. Apparently there is someone who can read their teleprompter and do well.
But your point is absolutely valid. If you write like a blog post and then read that from a teleprompter, I'm reading from a teleprompter and nobody is going to be interested in that. So you cannot write it like that. You have to write it as you speak, as you say.
Yeah.
But especially with these videos. So
they're so conversational. How do you do that?
They're conversational because they are written to be conversational, but also
unreal.
Also, the way these videos work. So if you haven't seen the videos and you're watching this podcast, I'm standing in a completely blacked out room. All you can see is me in a dark shirt, looking just like you are now.
Yep. See, I wore this for you.
I appreciate that. Look at that. And then I have these pens, and then I can write on glass that's basically in front of me, and the pens kind of light up. They kind of illuminate as you draw. So it's kind of like a whiteboard or a blackboard kind of thing, but it's in front of you. So you're looking through this. You have to make sure you're not writing on your face. Now, I can tell you now that thinking about everything you need to say, doing it all in one take, writing and thinking about what to say next is too much for me. I can't think about the best way to explain something while also drawing on the board, writing things, putting arrows and boxes and whatnot. So I have built an entire notation on my teleprompter that has both the words that I'm going to say, but also I have a I have a notation that shows me when I should draw a box and when I should draw an arrow and so forth, and which color pen I should use and all that sort of stuff. And that all scrolls by me on the teleprompter. So that way I don't have to think what's coming next. I don't have to think, what am I going to draw to illustrate this? It's already done. All I'm doing is thinking about how I'm going to deliver the content, because the content is staring me in the face, quite literally. It's on the teleprompter, staring me in the face. So all I have to do is think about how I'm going to say it, make sure that I'm, drawing it correctly and so forth. And I don't have to worry about what's coming next or that I've remembered the right thing. So for me, that's helped a lot. Most of the presenters on the channel do not use a teleprompter. They have other little tricks to do it. But for me, it helps hugely not to have to remember my script.
And I should say, going back, what you said is absolutely, first of all, it's amazing how you make it so natural. Like that's creepy, dude. Like that's incredible. It's really, really incredible skill. But I should say, when I say don't read things, I'm talking more about podcasts that are longer form, and I'm mostly doing interview-based stuff. So that's probably different. I should probably put a caveat there. Really quick. I mean, we're basically at time, a little over. But really quick, what are the 2025 AI predictions? I don't know if you can tailor them to communicators or not, but I think it's relevant either way.
My 2025 predictions.
Yeah,
yes,
yours. We care about yours.
Yeah. So the big thing next year, or this year, I should say, is AI agents. So think about how you might work with AI today. ChatGPT, it's a back and forth. You message it, it sends you a message back and so forth. An AI agent, you can just ask it to perform a task and it will go out and do all of that for you. There's not this back and forth. You ask for something, it goes away, thinks about it, does all the processing it needs to do, and it comes back, gives you the answer. Today, we have AI agents, but they're not very good because the large language models, they get stuck in rabbit holes and they just kind of go loop around. They can't work with human interfaces, so they can't really do a very good job of using a web browser to click on something, type on something, and so forth. But all of this stuff is being addressed by the current and forthcoming AI models. So the hope is this year will be the year of the AI agent that can go ahead and just do tasks for us. All we have to do is kick it off and off it goes.
Martin Keene, master inventor, host of IBM Technology, and of course, the host of Brewlosophy. Please plug the YouTube channel, both of them.
Yes. So the Brewlosophy Show, that's BRU for Brew, Brewlosophy Show. And then IBM Technology is the IBM channel.
We'll make sure to get links to both of those at justinkbrady.com or justinbradyshow.com. Go in the same direction. Martin, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really, really appreciate it. This is awesome. Great information.
Justin, it is always a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks so much.